Boa noite, boa noite. Oi, Joana.
Oi, daí. Olá. Boa noite.
Boa noite.
Boa noite
Então,
a todos.
só para avisar, vai ser assim daqui para frente.
É isso. Ele queria me fazer uma surpresa, entenda. Ele queria me fazer uma surpresa.
Gostou,
mas
Joana?
eu falei não, que eu queria estar pronta.
E fiquem até o final, porque tem créditos também.
É, por favor.
E aí, Joana? E aí, Joana? E aí, Joana?
E aí? E aí?
E hoje é especial. Hoje vai ser...
Hoje é especialíssimo.
Hoje é especial, é especial. Hoje é um dia bonito, hoje é um dia bacana. Na verdade já é noite, mas lá nos Estados Unidos é dia. Lá nos Estados Unidos é dia. E a gente resolveu presentear vocês, porque é meu desaniversário hoje, não é meu aniversário. E o da Joana também, por coincidência, então quisemos trazer um amigo dos Estados Unidos aqui. A gente vai falar a live inteira em inglês, tá? Então, eu vou apresentar ele logo, porque senão vai ficar demorando demais. Mas fica a dica para, se vocês quiserem fazer aula comigo e visitar minha lojinha, já tá aqui. Quem quiser fazer aula comigo, manda mensagem no Instagram e vamos começar essa porra. Primeiro eu vou chamar a minha amiga Alice. Oi, Alice.
Olá, olá.
Olá,
Tudo bem,
olá.
galera? Tô super animada. Hoje é dia.
Joana, tá preparada? Tá, já treinou inglês hoje? Tá pronta para falar inglês? Porque eu
The
vou...
English is ready.
The English is ready. The English is ready. I hope we didn't scare the guy because of that countdown.
Yeah. I think that should be the first question, actually.
That should be the first question. So let's gonna ask him. Let's give a hand. Nobody's gonna listen, but let's give a hand to Mr. Steven Silver.
Hey!
Hello. So did you
down almost? It was funny. Nice. I liked it. Perfect.
I was thinking I should do something more personal, so I decided to scare people. That's the idea.
Perfect.
Yeah. So how you doing, man?
Good. This is awesome.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Welcome to our humble channel.
Yes, we're just in a nice channel here.
Yeah, like you're the star today. Usually I am in the big screen, but and I try to make Joana stay in the little one. You see, like I hit her under the logo.
Andrea loves to be on the big screen, you know, with his wavy hair and all
she's always saying she's the law and she has the big hair just to make sure like everybody sees her, and that's how she rolls.
The bullying started early today, I see.
Yeah.
No, Andrea likes to be on the center with his wavy hair, so I think Joana should be on the center more often. She's the law after all.
Jesus.
So okay, so today we're talking to this amazing guy. We've known him for a while now. I known him for years. Alice as well. I think I met you back in 2000. When was the Pixel show?
Yeah. Wow.
Pixel show.
There were plenty of them, but I think it was 2012 or something. 2000.
I think that
2012.
Yeah,
I think so.
It was me, Alice, and Bobby. Bobby Chu was there, and there was this other guy. I forgot his name.
Francisco Herrera.
Francisco Herrera. Yeah, that was him.
Yeah,
he's so cool.
And I remember this was one of my. Should I start with an awkward story?
Okay.
For your amusement.
Sure.
Like, you know that Bobby and Kay know me as the sperm guy?
No.
Oh my!
I want to hear that.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Okay. Bear with me. I'm gonna tell you the story. I'm gonna tell the story. So, back then, I was really down because I didn't get my break or I didn't get any jobs or whatever. And Bobby has this always positive this aura that he brings everywhere he goes. And some people think that he's like only that when he does the streams, but in fact he was actually like that every time. Like we had lunch with him, and he was always motivational. And this is one of my favorite things about him. And I remember that I was annoying him because everything that he was saying to me, I would say something negative back. At some point, he looked at me and said, "Look," I think he had a couple of beers already, and he goes, "Look, you once were a sperm, and you made a race against other sperms, and you did fucking make it." And I'm like, okay, you win. You know? And I met him. Remember in 2017 when we met at CTN, like we ran into each other, and I stopped Bobby to tell this story to him. And he's like, when I said the first line, like, you know me as the sperm guy, and he's like, this is awkward because he's like super polite and all, like, and I told him, and he was laughing, and then we saw Kay. Kay recognized me, and he's like, Kay, remember, this is the sperm guy. So now I'm the sperm guy.
You're the sperm guy. I like it.
That's got to be your host name, man.
Yep, sperm guy.
Sperm guy
interviews.
I'm gonna put this in my logo. The sperm guy.
Yes.
Please do not.
Multitasking.
Please do not.
So you're from England, right? We were looking at your Wikipedia because we're kind of lazy, but
I know everything. I already know the whole thing.
Alex knows the whole story. Yeah, no, originally from England. I grew up there and moved to America when I was 10 years old. Started a life out here, and wow, what a different world it is. You know?
I imagine. Yeah,
living in England, it was a whole different sort of lifestyle, different culture, right? So when you go from one country to the next, you're all these different ways. And I remember when in England, you just growing up, you just going to school, and then wearing clothes. You didn't wash your clothes that much. It just wasn't something.
It's very cold, right?
Yeah, and you're wearing the same clothes, and maybe it's like my parents were saving money most of the time, so trying to save money. So I would always go with the same clothes. And when I came to America, I remember going to school, and I was wearing the same clothes like for 3 days in a row, and kids would just start to be like, "Why are you wearing the same clothes every day?" I'm like, "What? That's not normal." I didn't know. Is not no. In America, we change our clothes every day, and we bathe every day. And in England, growing up, I didn't bathe every day. Again, it's like part of a cultural thing, but also, I don't know. I didn't do it. Maybe my parents, they always threw me in the same bath water as my siblings. So we were always sharing the same water. And then I thought about it later on in life, like, man, that was nasty. That you share the same bath water with them, and it's just like, so it's interesting when you come to the different culture. No, you got to shower every day. You got to, hey mom, you got to shower. No, don't shower every day. You got to save water. I'm like,
this is a very.
Just so you know, I shower every day now.
We all showered today, by the way.
I just shower when I have lives to be.
Yeah, we usually have a weekly shower here, the three of us.
The three of us.
Yeah. And we changed that day to shower today, just so we could look presentable.
But the funny thing is that I heard at some point in history classes, I don't know why my history teacher told me that, but there was I think that the habit of taking showers every day came with the Native Americans, like from Brazil and from the countries that were being colonized, because like Europe is pretty cool. It's cold, right? Yeah. So the people shower every day is nothing. It shouldn't be common at that point, but here, like it's crazy hot, so. People would do that every day.
Yeah, there's no way, like especially in summer here in Brazil, if you don't shower every day, you can't
twice.
have. There's no
depending on the day, we can shower like twice a day. You know, it's like too hot.
Wow. How hot does it get there? I can't remember when I was there. Was I there in the summertime? I remember going to the beaches.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think it was summer. Perhaps it was, but it wasn't winter either. When
maybe autumn.
It was warm. Oh, I know that.
When was it? Yeah, maybe like in between seasons, perhaps spring or something. Because I think it's spring, because Pixel Show, it's usually in September or October, which is our spring. So it doesn't get to be cold here because it's Brazil. But for instance, here in my city, earlier this year it was 41 degrees Celsius. I have no idea how much is that in Fahrenheit, but
I'm trying to think like that's on the Fahrenheit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know the Fahrenheit.
Let's figure out.
Yeah.
That's 105 Fahrenheit.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty hot. And you're in LA, right? Like
I'm in LA. Yeah.
There's in LA it's a desert, right? Does it get very warm over there?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. During the summer, it'll get hot, not to like 105. I mean, it'll get up. Most of the time, the climate in California, it'll be up in like, 89, maybe 95, sometimes 96. But yeah, it doesn't. Like on average, like today, it's around 70, 75 degrees or something.
And did you carry anything from the British culture to your home, like to your home in America, or did you just adapt? How was it?
It was just really adapting. A lot of the things that we would always do is always like afternoon tea. It was just what you did, right? It's like so that was something that was always kept and traditional. I think even still today, I don't drink tea so much anymore, but it's always around 4 o'clock or so I'm going to have some coffee, as my coffee time, but it's just, and if I'm with my parents, then my mom's always got the teapot out and the crumpets and the, biscuits and all that. So, but that's about it. Otherwise you just kind of adapted, it's just, you had to fit in. You're thrown in here and you're kind of this strange kid in this new universe and this new culture of schooling. Schooling was a lot different. So they're like driving on the other side of the road.
So, right.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. A lot of little things. Yeah. But I'm glad I came here. I'm glad that we did come to America, because when they say it's the land of opportunity, that's why my parents moved here when we came here. It really is. I mean, I don't know what I would have been had I stayed in England. To be honest, I was a thug. I was a thief. I was doing horrible things, and I would have been in who knows what would have happened. It was just the lifestyle and the way that I was living out there, and school was hard. I hated school. I was failing in everything. And I realize now, growing up, that I had a lot of sort of, like the ADHD. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't spell. I get dyslexic in ways where misspelling my words backwards and writing, even when I was 13, 14 years old. But
I know that.
They didn't diagnose it back then. No, what's wrong with you? What's the matter with you? What are you, stupid? It's just like, just get, so there wasn't that sense of knowing to kind of tutor me to that. And my twin brother, I got a twin brother. It's the same thing. He later got onto like medications, and I didn't. I just smoked marijuana instead.
That works.
Yeah, that works.
That works.
Yeah. That was my medication, but it was interesting now, growing up, realizing those things that I didn't realize I was fighting at the time, but I was fighting. But again, there was no help back then, so it was weird. Yeah.
Even nowadays, there's still a sort of a stigma that if you don't fit the exact mold that they want you to fit, that it's just you're wrong. It's not that perhaps you have some sort of a illness or condition. It's just very straightforward. You have to follow that in order to be considered, regular citizen.
Right. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Well, in England, like in the grading system, in your classes, or the school I went to, they would always say there was 38 people in the class, and you always followed each other through the class. What would happen is they would always give you a number from like the smartest kid to the dumbest kid. And it was like my twin brother and I were always like number 37 and 38.
That would be with me as well. Like I know the feeling.
Yeah,
I
when
know
the
the feeling.
cards came around, it's just like, who's number 1? And who's number 38? Oh shit!
Maybe you could just flip the list, upside down, and you're on top.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because I think that's something very common among artists, because in a sense that I myself had some problems with that. Like somebody diagnosed me with ADD or something like that, and they wanted to give me Ritalin and stuff. And one of the things that happened was that the doctor, she was a friend of my dad's. My dad is also a doctor. And she said, okay, so if you're going to use those things, like if you're going to have to take the medication, you're going to have to do a diary. And in this diary, I was going to compare myself to myself without the medication. And I would put every day, I would put things that I would decide or feel or whatever came to mind. It was very instructive in the sense of who I am. But one of the things that I realized is that when I was on the medication, I felt like I was more organized. It was one thing that you wanted to fix in me. I was deorganized, and I stopped thinking like an artist, and that was the breaking point for me. Like I realized that my mind was not unorganized. I just thought in fractals. And when I was thinking, one thing led to another, and that thing led to another, and that was the account of how my creativity works. If I was on medication, it was they want. It sounds like a 1984 thing to say, but it's like they wanted me to fit in, and they were calling me like I was a sick person, but in fact I didn't know how to work my engine. That's the only problem that was happening, because I think that actually, if you are in a society where there's a lot of people that have a pattern of thinking, when you are not in that pattern, it's not like you have to fall in. You have to adapt so you can interact with that, because if you can't communicate. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very. It was really hard for me to get a hold of that. Until this day, I think there are new things that I'm discovering about that, because all the studies are talking about diseases and not necessarily about how one's mind is wired. But it actually got me a huge relief as well, because I don't need to be called a genius or anything, but I know that I can actually be different, and that makes me feel better about being an artist. And
it's okay.
So it's interesting. I one of the things that I think is that the environment is also responsible for how you deal with those things in your life, like growing up. One of the things that I always like to talk about, especially with my students, is it's about this is one of the themes I want to catch here. It's the part where your experience brings the artist in yourself. For instance, in my case, I am not. I don't think that my best trait is drawing, to be honest. Like, I am a illustrator, I'm professionally trained and all that stuff because I chose to. But I think that what actually drives me to drawing is the stories, because that's what I read stories and just thought that language, because I see drawing as such, that language was what I was going for. It was in order to express myself, and that came from the stories.
Yeah.
So I don't think that people that draw, especially, necessarily go for it just because of the craft. And that's my question to you. Like, what did was it growing up? How did your parents go about that? So what experience brought you to that feeling to actually make you become what you are today?
It's a crazy, now that I realize, divine experience, which I never thought about before. But when I was 6 years old in England, I found an artist's sketchbook laying in my backyard, and it was filled with portraits, landscapes, everything else. And I picked that book up and I started to carry that book around with me, and I started to draw from it. And from that point, I started to fall in love with art. And I was the only one in my family drawing, anyone that I knew that drew. And it was just from that, and that led to just constant discovery and openness. I just started to get more interested in looking at cartoons, watching Hanna-Barbera, things like that. But it really wasn't till I came to America where I just started it was just always seeking stuff. I don't know. I discovered this artist, Norman Rockwell. You probably familiar with him, right? When I was around 13 years old, and at my cousin's house, and I was just like, what the hell is this? That led to the next phase of curiosity. So all I ever wanted to do was try to draw something. Just, it wasn't necessarily creating stuff out of my mind so much, these fantasies, these stories, these ideas. I just wanted to be able to draw what I saw, and then sometimes those ideas in the sketchbook would come, and I never knew where I was going to go with it or what I wanted to do with it. I did know that art would have to be a thing someday, and that happened in high school. It wasn't until I got to high school where I started drawing for my high school newspaper, and I discovered Mad Magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I find Mad Magazine, and then I see humorous illustration, and I go, wow, humorous illustration. You mean you get to draw these fun-looking characters? I don't have to paint or draw like Norman Rockwell. That'd be awesome. But wow, I could do these cartoons and caricature, and that got me fascinated in caricature. And then it turned into people saying, hey, you could make money doing caricature. And it's just, wow, yeah, I can make a living doing this. That's cool, because I don't know what else I want to do in my life.
That's a job.
My parents want me to go to college, got a degree, all this stuff. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to do that shit. So I started. So I started doing caricatures at 18, but dropped out of community college after the second semester, and was done with school. And it was just like, I'm out, because now I can take my skill and and I was learning to do caricature, and I was getting better and better. And then I got intrigued with opening my own business doing it, and I could do this and I could do that. And I was always of the mindset of trying everything and anything. Even at Christmas time, I was going around and painting Christmas windows at Christmas time, painting a little Santa, painting that. Just, went and bought some paints in an art store and made a little one sheet, and went from store to store in my neighborhood. And hey, you want me to paint a Santa or this or some snow on your window? Yeah, sure. And, so I was always intrigued by that. And that's what just kind of led me into the art, then became character design, right? So caricature for me led to character design. I don't think I would have been a character designer or an effective one if I didn't know caricature. Because if you don't know caricature, I don't think you can be that great of a character designer. In fact, I've never met a great character designer who isn't a caricature artist too. So they can do caricatures of people just as well, and because it's one and the same. All you're doing is manipulating shapes and doing that. But that's what sort of led me into that area.
And really cool. When you go for character design, you're talking about caricature. There's also the psychological part of it. I think that people that do character design very well, they are also people that can read people very well. Because there's all the right now we're talking stereotypes are a very sensitive subject and all. Do you find this now a more a harder way to do character design, or do you think that this doesn't really mess with the craft right now as far as?
No, I don't think it messes with it. So I'm not maybe. The thing that I've always known ever since so maybe I need to understand maybe where you're going, like what the context or the question, so that what you're talking about, the stereotypes, like saying that this person is a truck driver, so
right.
you got to make them look at what does a truck driver look like. A truck driver is a big, bulky guy who's got a big thing. But he looks like you're a truck. You look like a truck driver, Andre. You're
a truck driver. That's a great compliment.
Driving a truck, yeah.
But so I mean, there's those aspects, but they're real though. You know what I'm saying? It's so when you can take characters and you can put any creating sort of personality and build around them, and you can take the sweetest looking innocent character and make them the worst villain, right? They don't have to have all these angles and pointy and all that to make them a villain. I think there's definitely in design, there's going to be those stereotypes because they will always be true. When we see someone, we can look at someone and get a little bit of a vibe. If we see someone who's maybe just like, really skinny and gaunt looking and just, just working around like this and doing weird stuff, you're just like, well, that person, and you watch how they're dressed, you might say that person looks like a tweaker. That person looks like they freaking do drugs, right? Am I stereotyping them? Am I saying something that might not be true? But I don't know. If I'm downtown and I see some guy like that, I'm gonna just assume that. But there's definitely you get certain outfits. There's a great a book. It's a German book. It's called Exactitudes. And what it is, where these photographer took pictures of all these people that just look like the same sort of the hip hop person. What does the hip hop person wear? And they use how they all look the same. The sort of the grandpa who's the sort of the leader of his family. And these were like in Italy, like the mafioso guys, and all these. They all had their leather coats, and they all had their brim hats, and they all had their nice mustache. There was like 50, 60 pictures of all different people that fit that mold. So stereotypes are real, they exist. And I think it would be, and we want that instant recognition. I want to, if you don't have a full story next to something and you want to tell a story very quickly, you can, if I want to show you a Robin Hood looking guy, I just don't need to tell you anything. And I could draw that Robin Hood looking guy and you go, that guy kind of feels or looks like Robin Hood. Right? Because you're just going to associate with it, or you're going to say, oh, that truck driver, or that person, that tourist at the beach. How do you draw that tourist at the beach, right? You guys, you see that, but you see it, and it's real, and it exists, and you want that instant recognition.
Right. Yeah. Do you guys want to ask him something? I have a whole list here, but I don't want to take on the microphone alone.
Joanna, you're too quiet.
Oh,
yeah,
no, it's fine.
She's probably plotting her revenge on my baby.
That's fair. That's fair.
I have Steven's book right here.
Oh yeah,
there
great book. Okay. Yeah, one thing that I know that a lot of people wanna hear about, especially for us who we don't have many big animation and entertainment studios here. We do have some video game developer companies, but how was it for you when you first joined Nickelodeon and other big companies? Was it due to indication? Did you show your portfolio? And how did it feel for you, like the difference between working as a caricature artist or as a professional illustrator for other media, and then to be jumping onto cartoons for TV and TV shows?
Yeah, no, it was wild. I mean, it's definitely different now. I got I got into the industry back in 1997, and I had met a storyboard artist who worked on a show called Freakazoid, and it was
love it. It's so great.
Cool.
So
it's so popular in Brazil.
And here's the thing too, that I would say that the benefits you have of, say, being in California, right, is you get this is where Hollywood is, this is where the studios are, Burbank and all that, to where you can was able to meet these people. So when I was young, I met this guy in this, I used to go to these monthly cartoonist meetings, and they would always have guest speakers. And this is where I met him, and I showed him my work, and he said, yeah, it looks pretty good, keep in touch. But I took that, keep in touch. Okay. But it wasn't, so but I never really did until about a year later. All of a sudden, when I heard about Freakazoid and saw that, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And Lion King had come out in like 1996. And, there was a big animation surge, and boom. That's when I reached out to this guy again and said, hey, I've been really working hard on my stuff since the last time you've seen it. Would you mind taking a look at it again? And this guy was so awesome that he said, yeah, absolutely. Why didn't you come to LA? I was living in San Diego at the time, so it's about a 3-hour drive. Yeah. And I went from San Diego, went up to LA into Warner Brothers, and I met with him, and he showed me the floor and what he does. And he said, hey, you know what? I heard upstairs on this show called Hysteria, which was a very caricature heavy show, because that's all I had in my portfolio, right? So that's where the caricature and character design, I never went to art school. I didn't have any production stuff. All I had was caricatures and figure drawing, and sketchbook drawing. That was it in my portfolio. And I went and he took my portfolio and he went upstairs and he said, I think they're looking for a character designer. And and the director wasn't there, and he dropped my portfolio off. And then it was like the next day they called me and said, hey, the director wants to meet you. And it's like, whoa,
nice.
Okay, whoa, what is this? What's happening? And then I went, and so I'd gone back to San Diego 3 hours, then went back to LA 3 hours and met with them. And the guy just asked me questions, and they gave me a test. So that's where most of the studios, that's what they're going to do. Whenever you get into a studio, or you get past that phase, because it all starts with portfolio, then test, then job, right? So sometimes you can bypass the portfolio because you have a connection somehow. So they don't need to see your portfolio, but they might want to test you. Just make sure that you can match the style or something if you're coming onto a show. And sometimes you'll bypass the portfolio and the test and just get the job, right? So there's different ways about it, but they gave me a test, which most studios will do. They said, come back in a couple weeks. The minute I left, I was drawing. I had to design 3 characters in that show style of Hysteria because it was already going on. And I'm drawing. And I came back, like less than a week later. Hey, whoa, you're already coming back? Yeah, I got stuff. And I came back with a stack of drawings, and they were just like, whoa, this is great. And then I left, and then it was about a week later, I got a call from them offering me the job, do I want to come to LA? And I was like, oh my God. Crazy.
I know it's a little late, but congratulations on that.
Yeah, it was, a different time, right? So not that can't happen today. It could totally happen today. The exact same scenario could happen today, without a doubt. The thing that's different now is there's no physical portfolios as much as all online. It's all digital. Right. What they used to do was grab all the portfolios and then wheel them in on a little dolly, a little cart into the directors. Hey, we're looking for a background designer. We're looking for a storyboard artist. And then the recruiter would bring all the portfolios they had, and the director all day would just sit through and pick the ones that he wants to test and go from there. Now it's all digital. You'll submit digitally. They have it all that way. Still, the director is going to want to look at it. Yeah.
Do you think that that traditional painters, because I remember that traditional painters were more people were liked them a little more because they have a little grasp on technique, different than people that have the Control-Z thing. So do you think that goes around still today, or do you think it's died down?
Yeah, I think it's back in the day when I was in '97, there was no Cintiq. We weren't doing anything online, so you had to be a traditional painter. If you weren't, you weren't getting a job. You had to physically do that. Course, and still, even today on like SpongeBob, they do traditional painting. They're not doing digital. So there's some shows that'll do that, but for the most part, they're just looking at that portfolio, and if you can paint and you're awesome, you're good to go. But I would say that a traditional painter will always typically, well, not always, but has a leg up, right, to that digital with that. They've done it traditionally. Now they can really adapt, digitally.
Yeah.
Same thing with an animator who can do it traditionally, and then just moving into being trained and doing it CG, has a really better understanding of the true fundamentals and isn't trying to cut so many corners. Even though they're trying to cut corners, they're aware of them. Where in the computer now you can cheat so many things where you don't even need to know that knowledge. You don't even have to have a cleanup line anymore.
Right.
You just use those snap tools. You just do whoop, you do a blip.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's the most beautiful line I've ever seen. And of the hand.
That's one thing that actually I think it's saddening about animation, because at least from anime point of view, like, I don't know if you're very familiar with anime nowadays, but I think that the animation got a little plastic, don't you think? Like, this is a personal opinion, but how do you see that? Like, I think that the technological side of things sometimes can be demeaning to the actual art part of things,
Well, I mean, I think what I see now is, more than anything, that just it's back in the, you had to have a real skill, to animate. Now it's a lot of just cutting and pasting and just, moving and a bunch of noodle arms. So absolutely, and that there's a reason for it too, because a lot of the animation is being done overseas. It's being done in, the Philippines, it's being done in India, it's being done in Vietnam, it's being done in Japan, all these different places. That's happening where we need to get butts in the chair. And if you can hold a pencil and do this and move that, then we can hire you. But, so that they don't have to necessarily hire someone with a huge amount of skill to animate, so it saves them.
And there's a big demand on doing episodes far faster than before. So each show has, I don't know, like how many, whatever episodes, and they have to produce it in a month instead of perhaps 6 months, and it's been more demanding. So in order to make things faster, they have to simplify it. It's a tendency on, I think, production nowadays, capitalism and all, but they have to do things faster.
It's always, that's what it is. That's what all of this is. It's just we need this done now, and because of binge watching, it turned it into even more of a thing where people, it never used to be a thing. Right now, people are done watching 20 episodes of something in one day. They're done. Like, what's next? What's next?
Duty is charged here.
But because of that, it's generated in this industry a lot more demand for a lot more content, which is a lot more jobs, right? Because now it's not spending, this long drawn out time on one production. It's like, let's get this done. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the next one. And that's how it's become now. There's just such a demand.
It's something that I usually talk to my students as well, like the style part thing, because back when I started, Massive Black was a thing. Remember Massive Black?
Yeah.
And now these guys are, like, most of them are working for Marvel Studios or Magic the Gathering. And one thing that I realized is after concept.org finished and ArtStation was becoming a thing, I saw that style was turning into something more of a product rather than an expression. And I see, for instance, like your style is very unique. I think it's a trend. It became a trend. Like other people started to mimic you. I see that this style started to blossom some very good artists. Like I saw, for instance, one of my favorites is Gandhi Tartakovsky. Like he's one of my favorites, like for Samurai Jack or Dexter's Laboratory. He made my favorite Star Wars cartoon so far. And I was wondering this, and because that's a concern of mine as well, because I strive to make my own style, but I see everybody like doing Blizzard style or doing like Danny Phantom style,
Right.
how do you survive the test of time? Because I saw this like from little. Like I remember when I was little, I was reading comic books. The style back then was Jim Lee's, from DC Comics.
Yeah.
Like everybody was trying to draw like him,
Right.
and now you see a lot of Jim Lee's, and you don't look at
Mike Mignola's right now.
Mignola's. How do you survive this test of time? I know that being a pioneer is something that actually helps you, but that's not always the case,
Yeah, no, I think for me, it's always just about evolution. It's just like, even though you're surviving through evolving, and you're evolving by not just sticking to the same thing. And in my case, in the animation world, I'm always, it happens all the time. Hey, we love your stuff on Kim Possible and Danny Phantom, but we don't want that, and they want just the ideas, or they want something from that. And, I don't put too much thought about it, other than I just keep just moving forward and trying new things. And I'm always just doing things for myself, because I'm not in the character design game anymore, right? I'm not in the industry like that. It's like I decided 13 years ago that I wanted, number one, I wanted to watch my kids grow up, and I wanted to work from home in my studio that I have here. And I didn't want to just have to trying to get a job on another production, this production to the next production to the next. And I didn't want that thing anymore. So as I sort of stepped away from working in-house, I became just able to work freelance. But it was always, it just progressed, and it evolved into me doing my own books and teaching and starting my own school. And I think that's how you survive it, and that's how you do it. You stay relevant by keep posting, you keep sharing, you keep putting your stuff out there. But I know what you're saying. There's a lot of lookalikes, now.
Right.
But what happens, but the studios really do kind of demand that. It's like the Blizzards and everything. If your stuff doesn't look like that, well, then you don't fit in the cookie cutter, and it's not what we're looking for. Your stuff's too stylized, and you won't get a job. So you do have to conform if you're going to work for other people in those industries. You do. It's just it's you as a commercial artist. You got to decide, am I willing to, but do I want to be hired by someone and work for them and get a paycheck by them from that company? Okay, yes, that's what you want to do. Well, then what do they need? What are their expectations? Follow that. But if you're like, nah, I'm gonna create my own graphic novel. I'm gonna create my own game cards. I'm gonna create my own sort of stuff. Then let the chains off, and just be expressive.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels really good to actually be able to do something without a constraining sensation of a studio or something like that.
Joanna and I are actually going to that route because I think that my career, I always was striving to try and enter a company for character design as well. And I saw that, well, I'm not necessarily a very good character designer, also not a necessarily good animator, and I'm not necessarily good at this and this and that. And then I realized that I can write stories and I can make a very good character design for my own stories.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm going to publish my own book. It's
nice.
And
yeah,
Joanna,
that's how you do it. Yeah, that was actually what I was meaning to ask, but I think Stephen already answered it. Like, what was it like to balance creative freedom with like the producer's expectations inside a company, like while you were working for a company? Because I think a lot of people romanticize the idea of working for companies like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, thinking like they would get in there and, I don't know, work on the next SpongeBob or something. Like, I'm gonna create the next SpongeBob, and it's not always like that. Like, no. I think it's nothing like that, actually. So no. How do you feel about that? How did you balance this expectation?
Again, it was one of these things where I knew that this was what in the beginning. So I was fortunate enough to be the lead designer of a show before it was designed. So when you get that opportunity, and I've worked both ends. I've worked where the show's already been designed and you come on and you got to be a chameleon. You got to be able to match that style. That's what got me my job in the first place. I had to be able to adapt and match a style. And that's why I always tell all people want to do character design, get versatile, just learn especially if you want to get into this industry, because then you can go and work on a SpongeBob or a Gravity Falls or a Fairly Odd Parents or a Danny Phantom, whatever it may be, because you understand how to design and construct and you understand certain aspects of design, so then you can blend in. But then there's the time where in the beginning, when you're developing a show, it's really that blue sky, right? Where there are no constraints. It is just, you get to be you, and you're just drawing. Like when I'm doing the Danny Phantom, when I'm doing the Kim Possible, those things, Clerks, I'm just drawing anything and throwing it out there and see what sticks. And then you work with the directors, and then it's the directors or the producers that start to pull you back. How do you know? And luckily, if you got good ones, then it works out, because they'll say, hey, this drawing looks good, continue with that. Otherwise, right, we can end up just going on and on and on. I don't know when to stop. When shall I stop? Whoa, come back. This one over here is good. So use that one. And that's what happens. But I think where a lot of people, where they romanticize, they think as a character designer, you get to be a character designer in the industry at this Nickelodeon, Disney, all these studios, and you just get to design like that blue sky all the time, and your own designs and your own characters, and you don't. There's a lot of production stuff. You're drawing special poses off of storyboards. You got to do the turnarounds. You're doing breakdowns of characters. You're drawing mouth charts. You're doing production stuff, and it's like the boring stuff. Yeah. And that's where people think that be a character designer, I just get to draw my own stuff all day, and you don't. And some shows are very heavy. Like I worked on, when I was working on Clerks, the animated series, I had to design like 125 characters a show, and I only had like 2.5 weeks to do it. You know how
2.5 weeks?
Yeah. You just
crazy.
That's
insane.
And you're getting rejections, and you show the director, and this person doesn't like it. Do it again. Shit. You need a turnaround done from the last episode that you did. So then you grab, oh my God, now I got to do this because they're shipping that today for the previous episode. Oh my God. So your whole workflow is destroyed, and you think, oh my God, you go crazy. And then other times it's calm. But again, people think that's the one misconception. People think that you just get to just draw front 3/4 views all day.
Sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
One thing I think I have my voice. Okay.
Yeah, there's an echo.
Stop trying to double yourself. You're not a clone. He's the only one who gets to have a twin brother.
Yeah, I don't have a twin brother. But I'm left-handed, and they say that most left-handeds actually eat their brothers in the womb, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. That's
what I did with my brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Useful information to do to use when you die, to put in your tombstone or something.
Yeah, that's a good thing, sperm guy. Well said, sperm guy. Well said. But one thing that I've been meaning to ask, I recently started working as an art director, which is really cool and really exciting.
Awesome. Nice.
But it's so fucking hard. And just like you said, we usually think that, maybe you're going to draw this and that, and you're going to create designs. But no, it's mostly managing what kind of view you want for that show or for that video game. In my case, since I work at a video game. Oh, by the way, the company I work as an art director is called Silver Games.
Oh, nice.
Believe that? Yeah.
Yay.
So it's Silver Games. But I was wondering if you ever worked as an art director, and if you, what are the differences? Because for me, since I'm doing it, I know how different it is. But I have lots of people who actually applied for at art director or even lead 2D artists or senior artists, and I know for most people this is something that it's not so easy to understand the differences. And did you have a good experience with art directors, or was it mostly pain in the ass? Someone was just like, do it again.
Yeah, no. So I had worked as an art director, but it was just working with the characters, on that level. So sometimes they have the different ones. There's all different levels of the art director's responsibility. Sometimes the art director is just only going over the backgrounds, and that's all they're doing is dealing with the color. And then you get the the art directors who are working with, which ones that I've worked with too, are they're looking at the characters, they're looking at the props, they're looking at the backgrounds, and they're sort of managing everything. Just once they get all the designers put their stuff in, now they're going making sure that it all is cohesive and it works. A lot of the times they're messing with the color. The art director's job in a lot of the studios out here, mainly they're color people. So and very rarely do they touch the designs. I never had any art director ever to touch any of my designs. It would always be the director. If he thought, he had a certain vision, and the art director's role was just, okay, I got this color, this character in his blue, but now I got this blue background, okay, in the scene. Okay, we got to change the color of this character. He can't be blue to put him on that blue background. We got to do this. And so there's a lot of putting out fires. And it was one of the reasons, in all honesty, where I never wanted to be an art director, never chase that position ever, because I know how hard those guys work. And I just know, it was a tough, demanding job. I'm like, nah, I kind of want to go home.
And draw, and that's it. Yeah. I miss drawing.
It's interesting that you mentioned before, just rolling a little back about the freelance career, because I know that there's a new trend coming in. I don't know if that's so new, but I saw this with Loish, when she did that video
Joana's
game.
Friend.
Joana's friends with Loish. So we have this
I'm not.
inside joke here, because Loish started to follow her on Instagram, and
Thus, friends.
So now they talk.
Like the peak of my career, actually. So.
Yeah, and now she's like, and I know, like, we get Steven Silver to come here. Can't you just talk to your friend to come here and talk to us as well?
Yeah, come on.
Sure.
Come on, Lois, come in
Steven's
for a
really
coffee. Have a beer. Sit down.
That's right.
I really want to know what you will do if she accepts. Like, if I really do ask. And
what will I do?
You never know until you ask.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we're doing the same. Like, have a beer and some peanuts and talk.
One thing that you can be sure is that I'm gonna strive to make you uncomfortable all the time.
Oh God.
I'm gonna ask you the worst questions ever.
Yeah, I'm
not
dreading
her.
the day already. I'm
gonna ask you, not her.
Sure. Of course.
Oh, you're not that bad.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask about the thing we see on Lowish. It's another side of that coin, like the Blizzard thing. Like people that go, because a lot of people that do that. I understand when you're trying to enter that particular company, but I see also people go for a style just because, like, I want to have a job. I just want to have a job,
Yeah.
And that's one bad thing in my opinion, because you see that you don't know where you're going because you don't understand it quite well. Like if you understand how comics work and you see a Mike Mignola go and you study composition and you study the fundamentals and you're like, oh, this is how this guy thinks. I can, like, for instance, I can see where Leyendecker and Rockwell go on your style. Yeah. You don't draw just like them, but I can see the influence.
Yeah.
I can see the ideas over there. I think it was who was the guy from Vampire the Masquerade? I always forget his name, although I love his work. The guy that was on Comic-Con.
Tim Bradstreet.
Yeah, Tim Bradstreet. I got a hold.
He's my friend. We smoke.
Your friend.
So we're actual friends.
You smoke weed together?
No, it wasn't weed.
Okay.
Of course not. I would never do that.
Okay. No, never. No, okay. He said something to me like, we feed off each other, like as artists. Like, this is one of my favorite sentence. But I digress. The thing I was going to ask is, how do you see about this personal style going on this industry? Because I see that Loish doesn't necessarily look, the Loish's drawings don't necessarily have to look like the final product. She just comes in comes in for the ideas, just like I don't know, the Hideo Kojima goes for Metal Gear. He's like the guy that gives the ideas, and the guys have to work it out.
Yeah.
So, do you see this as a career path, or something that happens only if you're at some point of your career? How do you see this as far as I get I get the feeling that this is what happens to you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, I think what happens is you get to that point where it is just kind of wanting the ideas just come up with just certain sketches. You're not having to worry about put it on that actual style per se, and that they'll evolve it, and you can just draw like you. That happens, I think, more in like the feature realm, to be honest. There's been times where people have just said, hey, we just want to see your ideas and just come up with, and then people will take what I've done, and then they'll start to manipulate the style and create something more stylized. They just want to see what my ideas were. But really, again, it's going to be very few and far of people that are going to be doing that all the time. You get certain guys like, even Carter Goodrich, right? Where a lot of his stuff is translated into CG, but it's always his style all the way through, or Peter DeSev, right? It's just their ideas and their concepts, and then their drawings are manipulated and sometimes molded just a little bit differently. But for the most part, I think that when you're entering into this field, there's one thing: you want to be distinctive, right? You got to show that. You can't just be a clone. Because then it's like, well, there's 1,000 of you guys. So I would always say, aim for being distinctive. First and foremost, people will recognize good art if art's good. If they look at your portfolio and they see, when I look at this, and what makes art good, and good art is going to have some essence of story. In composition, or just the character by itself, it's going to have solid construction. There's going to be a good sense of feeling and weight and personality, and you look at it and you go, wow, that's awesome, that's good, right? We know when we look at good artwork and bad artwork, it doesn't almost like matter what the style is. It's just like, is it executed well? And if you do that, that's what will open the doors, because people will say, hey, you know what? We're looking for a new animated cartoon. We're looking there again. Everyone's thing is we always want something different, even though they end up sticking with what they know and just go back to what they're comfortable with, right? So, but really, we want to be safe.
Balance.
Yeah, but I would always say aim always for being distinctive somehow. Show your personal style. Let people see that, because that can and will get you jobs. I got hired by Mad Magazine because of that. When I was just selling my prints of my own personal style, the art director had seen my artwork, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I saw your artwork. I love the style. I would love to hire you for blah, blah. And it led to the job, and that happens with a lot of jobs for me, to be honest, where people see my portfolio. They've never seen me before. Maybe they meet me at a convention. Maybe they see it through my website and they go, hey, we really like your style. Can you take a stab at, doing this? But be yourself, I think first and foremost, but show your versatility. If I'm applying to Blizzard, I'm going to show them my personal style, but I am also going to show a representation that I can do something similar to their brand, because if you don't, they're going to be like, this isn't the Blizzard brand. What are you looking at? What are you doing? This isn't us. So don't go apply to Cartoon Network. What are you applying? What are you showing me cartoon stuff for? Or and when you look at video games as a general whole, just there's so many new video games coming all the time, and they need new styles. And even though, again, they tend to fall back to what they're comfortable with, they want to see it. And that's why to be distinctive.
Right, and you touched the subject that I like as far as teaching goes, because I myself try to teach here as well. And one thing that I feel that is at loss in schools today, especially in my country, is that schools usually try to teach you the basic fundamentals side of things, like the structural. And also, even when I studied composition, it was like, hey, if you make the composition like that, And if you take this example, you have to copy this like so many times. And I even saw like teachers get angry at me for asking those questions. Like the when you talk about the feeling part, the when you put the drama in it, when you put the poetry in it, like how do you go about studying that, and how would you teach that? That's actually a question for me. Like I strive to try and say, dude, you're doing art. You're not doing a craft only. You're not like being a mechanic.
Right.
So
Right.
how do you see that? How do you teach that? How do you feel that in your own artwork? That's something very interesting for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am always. I believe in the fundamentals. I think
Of
this
course,
is
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's like if those aspects are missing, if you don't have a sense of perspective, if
Mhm.
you don't have a sense of construction, if you haven't drawn a portrait of the human figure, how are you going to do anything that's as really solid? I mean, you could do something and it's going to be more of a naive
Course.
art. That's an actual art form. They call it naive art, where
Yeah, yeah.
people have never taken and they just do what they do. They're like kids, right? We all did at kids. But we know when we look at our kids' drawings and they go, man, it's missing the structure and it's missing this. So I think you always do have to go through those principles first, and there's always going to be truths to it all the time. I mean, like we know we don't just want to ways of avoiding tangents or not making everything just so horizontal, yet you're trying to make the scene dramatic. It's just missing that energy. Well, hey, by adding some angles through here and lead your eye to the subject, these are things that you got to know. And if you don't know those, your drawings are always going to fall apart. I think people are spending way too much time on color when they shouldn't
Right.
be. People just want to
Yeah.
waste the color, and they're just polishing turds. Their drawings are missing the foundation. It's missing the feeling. It's missing the character, and it's just rendered. They have great rendering. Wow, beautiful. But I see right through it, and most people do. They go, yeah, it's
The
missing so
values
much.
are weird.
Yeah, just anything. So I always just try to teach more than anything is just put away color, and I want you to focus on your drawing ability and start to build that strength up, because that's always going to guide you and carry you through. You can always get someone else to color if you need to.
Right.
If you need to hire someone else to color it, you do that. And it's just, and most jobs most of these job positions in the animation field that I work in at from television animation mainly, is you have all separate designers. I got the character designer, the prop designer, the background designer, and then you got the color designers, and they're just responsible for color. They're going to color the props, they're going to color the characters, and then you got the background color guys. They're going to color the background. So I don't know. I just think I'm always I believe in those fundamentals. And I would encourage everyone just to learn that, and you do that by things that you even mentioned. I mean, by copying and studying,
Right.
and keeping your eye open and looking at different artists and going, why does that image that they do attract you? What is it about Mike Mignola's page of his comic that is just like so awesome? Or one of my favorite comic artists was, and his name's going to Topi. You're familiar with Topi? Topi?
I think I have one of his books in my shelf.
Yeah, like that guy, just like phenomenal. A guy like Bernie Wrightson, who was doing all the the horror comics and all that sort of stuff.
I have his Frankenstein book.
Oh yeah, and
Junji
amazing, amazing
Yeah.
stuff. But you study, all these different disciplines, and you look at their artwork and go, why does it appeal to me? Why does it look so good? Study that and try to influence or traject that into your own work somehow.
So you're bringing your influence, right? Yeah.
I like that. I was fortunate enough to be a student of Stephen, and one thing that I believe that one of the very big lessons that were stuck in me was that detail is the last thing you gotta do. Last thing you gotta think about, and maybe if you don't have time for it, it's fine. You just have to stick with the story, the gesture, the design, and all that.
Yeah.
And I see even with me and my coworkers and other people that when I was a teacher, I was seeing their works is that we want to make things beautiful and appealing, so we have a tendency of trying to start up with the details.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's gonna be a really cool eye, so
Yeah,
this
yeah.
bright eye is gonna have a cool eyeball, and then the rest of the art just looks like shit.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
detail is the last thing, and I think that's a very, very valuable lesson that most people uh, they don't get it. We just want to rush things because
Yeah.
also everyone's working, and there's going to be like a 12-year-old somewhere in the world that's going to draw much better than you, so we're like, oh shit, we gotta work it out.
Yeah.
But detail is the last thing we should be thinking about. It's more like what you want to talk, how do you want to express that, what's your composition, your fundamentals, and
Yeah.
then detail, colors, and all that.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
think
in everything. It's in everything, right? It's just like if I'm making something, if I'm baking something, I'm going to put on the cream and the design
Yeah.
of my little thing afterwards. If I'm building a house, I'm not going to buy the furniture for my house before I build
right.
it. I don't know what it's going to look
The
like. How's it going to
painting.
fit in the space? What's the area look like? And I think that's all you got to think. I always just, everything I do is really just based around just everyday living and nature, and that's where the common sense of everything comes from. I'm just like, just be like nature, just be
Right.
natural, just do what you've done from the time you were born and mankind has done. Follow that natural path because it's all in there and it's all like the same sort of formulas. And if you just do that, you're kind of going to be in good shape.
I asked this because I see so many tattoo artists, especially. It's at least here in Brazil. I see that most of them, not some of them, most of them, are not classically trained. Right? They understand a little bit of drawing. They make their courses, but as far as popularity, they go for this copy paste thing. Like when you try to reproduce everything that you see in a picture or a drawing that you see from other guys. They're the guys that actually create and all. I don't want to throw them under the bus or anything. It's just I remember this story about this guy that he was crazy good at drawing like realistically, and he was really, really good. But when the guy asked him to do something creative, like, I want you to draw me a demon, the guy just didn't know how to do it.
Right. Yeah.
It's just he
Yeah.
knew his fundamentals,
Yeah.
but he couldn't create narrative.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's the thing I wanted to understand a little better. Like where do you get the after? Let's say you mastered all the fundamentals. I know there's not necessarily such thing like you master everything.
Yeah. Right.
But let's say for sake of argument that you master everything. Like
Yeah.
what then? What would you strive for rather than just like, I understand like you look at the guys that you like and all, but what do you look for in your own life? What do you look for in nature? What do you see?
But for me, at that point, it's really just the pure observation of just drawing from life, as much going out and sketching people and observing that. Look at that, how that person's standing. Look at that person sitting, and just paying attention to all these things. That's really one of the most important ingredients of all this. Like, I feel like there's three major things that you should be doing and always kind of put into practice. And that's, number one is just observation from life. You're drawing in your sketchbook, you're at the cafes, you're out in public, drawing from photos, and then drawing from your imagination, and it's really as simple as that. You're blending those three, and through that observation, then you can just start to build that muscle memory and that knowledge. And then from there, now I remember seeing that old guy when he walked in the restaurant and he was so slouched over. Let me try to recall what I remember seeing the other day. So you're increasing your memory. That I do a lot of memory sketching.
Ah, nice.
And I train that
that's very
because I
good.
think that's just very, very important, just to observe, just like spend time observing, putting the reference away and redrawing what it is that you think you saw. And that, because it expands your horizon. All of a sudden, these new ideas come out of that exploration.
Let's go to a more philosophical side of things.
Okay.
I was going to ask you some. There are some questions from the audience.
Okay.
and I also have one of my own, but I want to at least give some time for them to ask you stuff. So first one is from Felipe Roli. That's the guy that made the animations here. Actually, hey Felipe.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really? The
Shout out.
countdown?
The countdown and the credits. You didn't see the
That's
credits yet.
amazing. Well done.
Okay. First question from Felipe was, what's your process for new ideas? Where do you get that? I think that you kind of answered that already, right?
Yeah, but well, I mean, the process that I'm going through is first, before you have the new idea, you gotta know some sense of story. Am I drawing am I drawing squares? Am I drawing shapes? Or am I drawing trees? Am I drawing, what am I drawing? Am I drawing a snake or am I drawing an owl? So just know, number one, what it is that your task is. What's the story? That's where the story comes in. Or maybe you might read through a book and go, oh, I love Star Wars, and I really love like Luke Skywalker. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a character that's kind of like Luke Skywalker, but it's not Luke Skywalker yet. Luke Skywalker now lives in back in caveman times. What would Luke Skywalker, so maybe if you're not good at creating a story, you can at least grab from something and at that point is just gathering your reference. So now. Right. Maybe I'm doing something in steampunk world, or I'm going to start grabbing reference of steampunk stuff and start doing sketch. Oh, look at the hats. Look at the goggles. Oh, look at the gear on the side of their arm. Oh, I love the glove. And you start just pulling all these bits of reference together. And then you just start to build characters around that. And then you're making changes all the time, so that you're not necessarily copying those costumes. You're getting an essence of them. So it feels like it's steampunk, right? So it goes into that realm, and that's what I'll do. And that's my process. And I go through until I start to get happy with a design or a sketch. I'll usually anytime I'm developing a character, I'll usually draw anywhere from 6 to 10 variations, 12 variations of the exact same character, but they all look different, and then that's what I get to present to the client, and say, which direction do you want to go? It's the same person, but which is the direction? And then they'll usually give feedback from there, but that's how I'll go through my process.
I want to thank you because I know my students are watching this, and saying, see
that what I was thinking.
Yeah, like you see, I'm not the only one to say that kind of shit.
Fuckers.
You lazy fuckers. You have to
don't settle. Don't settle. Yeah, that's
like,
the biggest mistake people make and it's the one real lesson I learned when I got in this industry is don't settle. Don't settle with the first design you do. Don't fall in love with that. Just you got to.
It's never the best. It's basically never the best point.
Yeah.
I remember one thing that I like because of the level of the quote is, learn to kill your babies. Learn to kill your babies. I love that sentence. It's super creepy.
Yeah. But true.
You really want to get flagged by YouTube, right?
Oh yeah.
You really want that.
Oh yeah. But like the first time I ever got flagged by YouTube by something I said, this is when I say my career is at the top.
Oh, okay.
That's how you do it, man. Okay, next question.
There's a question by Leo. Now that there will be a Powerpuff Girls young adult live-action TV show, how would Stephen feel if they did the same with Kim or Danny?
They did.
There is, yeah.
They did. With Kim Possible.
They did a live action. So there was a live action Kim Possible. No, if they did, that would be awesome. My big thing was I would hope in a million years that they'd ask me, to come back. I'd be upset. Kind of get if they didn't. They'll be like, oh, we just want to create a different take and a different look. The only thing is I think it'd piss off a lot of people. Because again, that's what people are wanting, right? They're wanting, they say, we like that, the way that it looked and those stories and the style. Why mess with it? Why fix it? That's typically what they'll, tend to do a lot of the times now. But if they did that, that would be awesome. And I've even told them, I said, if you guys ever do an animated Kim Possible again, I know they won't ever do a Danny Phantom, just because Nickelodeon Butch Hartman's no longer associated with them for that, although he is doing a Fairly Odd Parents movie. It's a like live action TV show stuff now, moving into that area. But I would totally go back and do that. That'd be awesome.
Right.
That would be really awesome.
Nice.
I just wonder, like, how cool is it to see an actual feature movie with actors and all that based on a character you developed? And
No, that's
really
the
cool.
trippiest thing. It's like that was always the trick at comic conventions. I see so many cosplays, right, of Kim Possibles and Danny Phantom. And that's
I remember that.
That's just like, wow, every convention, even after all these years, and sometimes I see more than ever. I'll be at a convention and I'll meet like 12 of them, they're coming through. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. But I will tell you just a little secret, something that I do when I am designing is when I do design characters for shows, I do think about what would this be like if it was a cosplay. If someone were to
nice.
out of this, so that's I'm thinking about that. How easy of a costume would this be to make? How iconic can it be, or whatever it may be? So that goes through my head. Yeah,
nice.
Really awesome. I remember when we were at WonderCon, that it was like every half an hour there was a cool cosplayer who wanted to do a review. It was really cool.
Nice.
It's really fun.
I really want a Danny Phantom live action now.
You want to do what?
I really want a Danny Phantom live action.
Oh yeah, that would be weird. I mean, it could
cast
be
me
cool.
as
Yeah, I think they could do it. I
want to be Danny.
Yeah, I think it would look amazing. Like after all those Marvel movies, they
for sure.
actually do something cool with it.
Yeah, they really could. You're absolutely right. When you almost like envision those Marvel movies, and you go, Danny Phantom realm. That would be really cool. Yeah,
I think that's the tendency. I think that's the tendency. Like first of all, they go mainstream, like they go Marvel, they do DC now, and then they have to bring new things. Because at some point, people are gonna get like bored with Marvel movies. I'm sorry, I love Marvel movies, but they're all the same thing.
Yeah, me too. To be honest,
10 years the same movie over and over with different characters, basically.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't even know that I saw the last one that came out. Yeah.
You just need to see one movie. You see Iron Man.
Yeah.
You just go to the other movies and you already know what's gonna happen. All the sequence, all the acts, everything. Though
we're gonna get canceled under there.
I know. That's
tomorrow on Twitter, like artists are canceled because they hate Marvel.
I didn't say I hate Marvel.
Yeah, no hate.
I know, but that's how Twitter works. You say maybe I'm kind of fed up with Marvel movies. It's like, she said she hates Marvel and she wants to murder all the actors.
Dude, I eat pizza every week and I don't get fed up at people still doing it for like 100 years, So it's fine. It's fine. People are not gonna cancel it just because we say those movies are shit. But anyway,
we love Marvel. We love Marvel.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, another question, guys. Please keep those questions coming. I see two more. Okay, this is a little big one, but I think it's something I was going to touch with you because I think it's the more motivational Stephen. I know that Bobby Chew talks about you like you're the guy that made him believe himself, and I know that like 100% of the artists, they have that imposter syndrome, and I'm gonna go there, but gonna read the question first. Okay. Hey Stephen, I have this strange feeling that sometimes I'm sure I can do great things, that I can work with my art, but at the same time I have this thing that keep pushing me back. Can I read this in a Russian accent?
Sure.
Thank you.
What's the name of the question asker? Who asked the question?
It's souffle.
Souffle.
Her name is Souffle. Okay.
You have to say souffle. Right
yeah, her name is Souffle. Okay. Hey Stephen. Like I have this strange feeling, like sometimes I'm sure I can do great things. That I can work my art, and at the same time I have this thing that keep pushing me back to Russia. Like if I do something wrong, I'll never get objectives. I never kill my enemies. Then I just can't produce anything. do you have advice? Do you have advice to deal with this kind of shit? This awful self-sabotage. Thank you, comrade.
You know, where, you know, to be honest, where a lot of all this stuff comes from is just it's just pure looking at competing in your mind. You're comparing yourself to other people. There's too much of a comparison, so you start to not have the belief because you're spending maybe too much time looking at other people's artwork instead of really focusing on your own and allowing yourself. And what I say to people who are experiencing this, I say, pull back from the social media, pull back from the art stations, pull back from looking at all this stuff, because what it's doing is it constantly setting up a roadblock for you because you know you're not there yet. And so in your mind internally, you're just like, I know I'm not there. I'm not good enough. I'll never be that good. They're so much better than me. And then this internal dialogue goes on in your mind when really it's false. The idea is, yeah, maybe you're not as good right now, but you know that if I take my time and I'm really cram and I really work hard and I'm really bust my ass, that I can eventually, you know, get there. We all do at some point. We never. No, I don't think any of us in the positions we are now, from illustrator, art director, designers, doing all the stuff that we do, ever, you know, we thought maybe in our minds that's where we want to be. But, you know, eventually through trial and error, working hard, meeting this person, doing that, and all of a sudden it evolves and it becomes something. And I think the most important thing that you can do is just let things go and just realize that you're spinning on a fucking rock 1,000 miles an hour on an axis, hurtling more than 2 million miles an hour through space with a no end to in sight. Just go along with the movement, and just that's all you're doing. That's all we're doing is moving. We're just moving. Just keep moving. Just keep going, and just don't worry. And this is again, it's all these other. It's the news. It's the social media. It's all these things that are planting all this. This stuff isn't real. You tell yourself that, and just allow yourself to just go with it. Just nurture yourself. Like, again, coming back to nature. What does nature teach me? Nature teaches me that if I have an idea, if I plant a seed, if I have a seed and I plant it, well, what do I need to do to make that thing become what it's going to become? I need to give it some love. I need to give it some attention. I need to nurture it and let it grow. And what does that tree do? It eventually manifests and it turns into something, whether it's an avocado tree, an apple tree, an orange tree. And I know that an avocado tree, you know how many years it takes for an avocado tree to bear its fruit?
No idea.
7 years. 7 years from the time you plant it, and it's got to be in the right environment. It's got to have the sunshine. It's got to have the heat. And so not maybe you're in the wrong environment. Maybe you're surrounded by people who are a bunch of naysayers, a bunch of negative people. And that's what's driving you in the wrong environment. You got to be surrounded by like-minded people. You got to, you know, through communities like this and everything else, and be around that. And then you just nurture, and I add and I keep adding. Eventually you start bearing that fruit, and that fruit is, wow, I'm getting jobs. I can do this. And that's when people are taking from it. They're hiring you. And it's a cycle. And the most important thing is to allow yourself, like nature teaches us, to have seasons, that you don't have to be going all the time. A tree doesn't have to keep producing all the time. It doesn't produce all the time. And that's where we're allowed to do that and allow yourself to relax and go, okay, I've worked so hard this last 6 months working towards this. Let me slow down just a little bit. Let me do what nature shows me and teaches me. And those are the things that I think it's important, why I think people should be very observant and really pay attention to what's already happened in their lives as an experience, and also just pay attention to all those times that they thought nothing would happen in their lives, but something did. You know, and it goes back to when you were crawling. You didn't think you could walk, you know, mommy, or all of a sudden you start walking. You didn't think you could swing on a swing set. You didn't think you could ride a bike. You know, there's all these things we've gone through and experienced. And I think if people would just start to realize that, yeah, I'm human. I'm part of this race, and I'm just like the birds and the bees. And look what they do every day. They figure it out every day. You know, I heard something awesome not too recently where this woman had mentioned, she said, you know, it's amazing when you go to buy a seed of something, say you're going to plant, and you look at that, maybe it's a bulb of some sort of, and it's all brown and looks nasty and there's nothing there to it. And the only way that I know what it's going to become is simply by that picture that shows me that this is going to eventually turn out to be this beautiful rose bush. But right now it's just this ugly bulb looking thing. And, you know, but we're willing to take that ugly bulb and you're willing to stick it in the ground. And you know that if I nurture it and help it, it's going to develop into this beautiful thing. Well, that's how we got to envision our lives, that no matter how ugly we are inside, you know, or our artwork is or anything else, that we know that if we nurture this and give it the love that it requires, it can turn into something beautiful. But if we keep bashing ourselves, if we keep telling ourselves that nothing's going to work out, everything's shit, this, that, the other, well, you know what? You're right. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to have a bunch of dead, ugly looking roses, you know, and that's the reality.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Bravo. But yeah.
Bravo.
That's great advice.
I remember this guy that was a spiritual leader or something like that. He's not the bad side of things. Like, he was a pretty cool guy, and I like the text that he goes and he goes on his lecture and says, like, God or the universe or whatever you might think that exists has only one answer to anything, and it's yes. And the context is the thing that people don't understand, because when you go and say, oh, I need money, for instance,
right,
God is gonna go and say, yes, you do.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right.
and it's kind of the same thing. Like, you go and say, well, it's something to say I need to get better. It's another thing, like, I'm gonna get better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. You know, like, it's not, it doesn't happen before you do it.
It's the want. You know, a lot of people
Yeah.
in context with what they're saying, oh, I need to sketch more. I need to fill up more sketchbooks, instead of I want to fill up more sketchbooks and I want to draw more, you know. So you got to have the want within yourself is going to lead to that desire of what you want. Like, I want this, I desire this. And then now that I know that I want to be a character designer in the animation industry. Good. Now you know what you want. So now what do you need to do to get there? Well, now I need to start researching the industry. I need to research artists that work in the industry. I need to start learning. I might need to find a mentor. I need to do whatever it may be in order to do the things that keep moving you up that ladder. And instead of just staying on that first rung of the ladder, where a lot of people will stay, you just got to keep going, you know. And it's like, eventually when you put one foot in front of the other, you're going to get to the top. You know, you may not get to the top of, say, oh, I'm a top designer or I'm a top something, but you're going to get to a place where you become fulfilled, and maybe your desire was to have a family, and now you have a family. Maybe your desire was to have a house or a car, and now you've got that car, and you can eat, and you got food in your belly, and you got the things that you want, and you're able to, there's new technological equipment I want to buy for my computer, that you can buy, that I can afford to pay that $9, you know, for it, whatever it may be. Those become the successes when you are achieving those things, because most people think they want stuff that other people have and all this stuff, but they really don't. Most people already have what they kind of need, you know. They really do, to be honest with you. You'll find when you start to write a list of your wants, like, what do I really want? You'll start to go, you know what? I actually kind of have that, you know. Do I have the freedom, you know, to do this, to walk there? Yeah, I kind of do. Do I have the freedom? If I love going to the movies, I really love going to the movies. I want to go to the movies. Do you get to do that? Yeah, I get to, you know, not right now during the pandemic, but, you know, yeah, I get to go to the movies. So a lot of times you have the things that you want, and you keep seeing this illusion of what you think. Maybe movies or something of what Hollywood is or success is. But I can tell you, most of the people who live and these lives that you see are fucking miserable. And most of them end up in drug rehab, or they end up killing themselves or something else. And they've gone through 3 marriages, and their kids fucking hate them, and all these other things. That is not success. Success, to me, in my opinion, is I've achieved success. And one big milestone is that my daughter is 17, my son's 18, that I raised them as good human beings, but that they are still, they're not drug addicts. They don't have all these problems. And I got them through to be adults. You know, that is a huge success, going from zero. Oh my God, how do I do that as an artist? And my kids, their whole life had a roof over their head. My kids, their whole life had clothes on their back. My kids, their whole life, you know, got to appreciate and see things. And that's the success, and not these sometimes where people, again, they're stopping themselves. They're perceiving what a Disney artist is, that, so I'm never going to be that good. So everything else, you know, I suck. I'm never going to be good. So I would say try to avoid that.
Yeah. And your kids are great. I remember they were babies when I met them. And yeah, Macy's birthday was this week, wasn't it?
Well, she's 17, and my son right now is actually in Marine Corps boot camp. You know, so Caden's in he's going to be a Marine. That's what he's always wanted to do, and serve, and that's where he is right now. So it's pretty awesome.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
She was 10 when I met her.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting old. But yeah, that's nice. That's that's great advice again. Success is not just buying stuff.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I have another one.
Yeah.
Should I do Russian? I don't
which
want to.
One is it?
It's from Leo.
It's Leo's. Yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want to do
Sorry.
British because I don't want to offend Stephen.
Hello.
Hello.
Right,
I want to hear your British accent. Actually,
it's horrible.
All right.
Okay. A question: if Stephen could work in the design of an animated series of any character, which would it be?
If I could work on any animated series designing, wow. I don't know. That's a tough one. You know, I almost feel in a weird kind of way that I'm kind of detached from the animation industry because I don't watch cartoons anymore. I do cartoons and designs for the animation industry, but I don't watch cartoons anymore. It's like what shows are out there that I would even. I mean, the last shows I was watching is when my kids are watching, Family Guy and all that sort of stuff, and that is one show that, it's not something that I would necessarily say that, I've got to work on Family Guy. I don't know. It's hard to.
What
Your
if
Game of Thrones designs were awesome.
Oh, yeah. The Walking Dead was my favorite.
I mean, if someone said we want to do an animated series based off a live action, show, then it would be, I think there's just so many. Yeah, like I love doing that. Like when from The Office, I watched The Office and Parks and Rec and Game of Thrones, of course. And now I've got to watch Schitt's Creek. I've been, so there's a show that's very popular. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called
Yeah.
It's
popular here as well. I haven't watched it.
Okay, I want to watch that, but I just like doing stuff like that, and it's more for myself too. But that would be awesome if there was a show like I thought when I did my say The Office or the Parks and Rec. If they saw it and go, "Hey, we want to do a Parks and Rec animated series," or The Office, that would be awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Please, people, I hope they watch this live.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know the answer to that question from Alice and Andrew as well.
Me?
What would you work?
I'm an easy one because I would love to work with Naughty Dog to produce whatever next The Last of Us thing they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm literally, I have a Last of Us author here with all my stuff. It's like my obsession, and I have Ellie's tattoo, and I've made a short film with that. So The Last of Us is my obsession. That's still my goal. I hopefully one day I'll achieve this dream / ambition of working at Naughty Dog. So yeah,
and then you may work there and get disappointed and go, "Wow!"
Yeah, I'll be glad to be disappointed.
But you got to try. You got to try. You got to try. No regrets.
Yeah, I'm like, hire me. Even if you say I'll be disappointed, no problem. Hire me. I can make great coffee, by the way. So they wouldn't be disappointed with my great coffee making skills. Perhaps not the design ones, but I make coffee.
I don't know. Me, I would say I would like to work on a CD Project Red something. I don't know. I would like to work on something cyberpunk or because I think that usually what you see about cyberpunk is so underrated. Is there's so many good things that you can pull from that kind of realm that people they're afraid of putting in, because there's all about it's all about the lost innocence and you remember the 80s, like you see like on RoboCop, when you see that the little kid that smoked, like you cannot put a 13-year-old smoking and working with prostitutes in the movie anymore,
No, God damn it.
I miss those days,
Everything's ruined.
Yeah, no, but actually that's the point. Like the cyberpunk thing is, cyberpunk is basically a dystopian future. It's basically what humanity would go if everything went to shit. Actually, it's going to shit right now.
We're doing a good job.
We're doing a good job. But I think that the touchy thing is, it's something that actually annoys me a little bit. I don't want to like necessarily put everything in a box and just talk about bad things, but I think that like the kid character that's now an adult because life made him that way, the way that drugs are a common thing, and like that's why I like Love, Death and Robots, because that's basically that's something that was missing. Like you don't I was hearing this talk from one of those Marvel movie actors, and he was saying
Marvel. After all,
no, I do like Marvel. I don't think that the movies are awesome, but I like I like Marvel. And he was saying that, like the guy that made Falcon, I forgot his name, and the Falcon, the black guy, and he's talking that the movie industry of the last 10-20 years killed movie stars. You're not going to see something like Scent of a Woman or I don't know, the Devil's Advocate. You're not going to see the next Al Pacino now, because you don't go to the movies to see Robert Downey Jr. You go to the movies to see the Iron Man.
Right.
So I think that's a good question. Do you think that I think that the industry, in a sense, that the very word, the industry, became an entity that made people feel like they're not worthy, because it sounds like a club, like when the goes an illustrator and goes and say like, well, when you work in the industry, like when you're into the club, like you're not, and it drives people insane, because for instance, in my case, I didn't get a very good grasp of how to work in this club, but I'm doing very well with my own pictures, and people are starting to call me to do like band album works and like, and not small stuff. Like I've been fortunate enough to get good clients just because I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this environment is also bad. Like, how do you see that transforming? How do you see this the very nature of the industry, as we call it nowadays, for newcomers and for the people that are already in there?
Yeah, I think in the animation industry, it's just the doors have been opened because of the pandemic worldwide. Right. Even more so, where they used to think, you had to have a butt in the chair, be at the studio. But it's just they realize, wow, we can still function and do this without having that. So now there's a lot more opportunity for people who are living in Brazil, living in Russia.
Please hire us.
Yeah. Also, what does that mean? That means because there's a lot more opportunity, where there's a lot more freelancers being hired and everything else, that your mission is to really develop a solid portfolio and a solid website, and again, put your stuff out there where you can put it out there, and that's how you and do your stuff, so that you're not necessarily just working for the industry, but again, you're this. Everyone needs an artist for something, like you mentioned, album covers to bed sheets, for party stuff, for this, t-shirts. I mean, there's industry upon industry with art that everyone needs an artist that, if you're got a good work ethic, and you're not lazy and you're not procrastinating and you have a positive attitude, and that's a huge part, having that positive attitude, belief that this can happen for you, then it's going to happen. It's where a lot of people, I think, get stuck all the time and things aren't happening because there's a lot of, they don't think that if you have the bad mindset and internally, subconsciously, you truly don't believe it. You're just like, inside of you, but on the outside, you're just like, I'm going to get in, I want to do this. But inside, you're, forget it. You're dead in the water. It's got to be internal and external, that you just really say, this is what I want to do. And this is where I'm going. Research the industry that you're getting into. But I do feel that it is getting easy. It's going to be easier for artists, more independent artists to do their own stuff. And the industry as a whole, as big as it is, I still think we're just going to see a lot more of these independent places showing up. It's going to get more and more independent places because there's such a huge demand. There's entertainment. There really is. There really is.
I think the biggest problem is that phrase, trust yourself. Because when you tell somebody to trust themselves, they understand, like, you have to think that everything that you do is going to work. It's not like that, like it's to trust yourself is to trust your brain, your ability to make choices and to solve problems. Because in the end, when you make a mistake and you don't get something that you want, you can learn how to change that, right?
Yeah, there's people say they're applying for a job, right? This is what Mort Drucker, one of my heroes from Mad Magazine, said. And he said, there's the people applying for a job, 100% of people, they all apply, they all get rejected. Well, then you get about 25% of them already just drop off. They're done. I got rejected. It's over for me. I'm never going to get hired. Then you got the 75% of people. They're going to try again. I'm going to try again. They submit for the job. They all get rejected, knock out another 25%. And it goes through a cycle to where maybe there's only about 25% of the competition is there who truly have the drive and are willing, I'm not going to give up and I'm going to keep going. And again, it's through that perseverance and that persistence that shit happens. And again, it's that belief system. But every time you're telling yourself this is impossible, no way. But then, okay, fine, no way, it's not going to happen.
Endurance is a thing. Yeah.
Joanna, you had a new question, right?
Oh yeah, I want to ask Joanna, what would you like to be on a show for, by the way, Joanna?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh shit, we forgot about her. Sorry.
Well,
sorry, Joanna.
You disappeared right now. Your camera is not working.
It
is now. Okay.
It was shame.
I think the only thing I would drop, like everything to work on right now, would be anything related to Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's my favorite, like, Nickelodeon show ever, and I would really love to work on something related to that.
It's a great show.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have a new question by Jefferson, and he asks, okay, I am 42 and I just decided I want to learn how to draw. I am a somewhat stick figures man. I'm getting into this for stress relief, but it's kind of hard being around young, talented people. Everyone is very receptive, but I do feel there is a goal to reach or a standard to meet. How can I relax?
Wow. I mean, I would almost say this is, again, an environment question. Drinks beer, smoke weed. No.
It's a good tip.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
It's not wrong.
I recommend.
No, listen, to be honest, it's an environment question, because here you are in an environment which is stressing you out and isn't conducive to who you are as a person. So you're around people that are making you feel this way. If I'm around people that are making me feel anxious and like that, well, you got to get out of that environment, right? So the only other thing that you can do is for yourself. That's when you're starting to try to find some other place or other community where you can just do it. Otherwise, you're doing it on your own and surrounding yourself with books. We're not relying on other people. And that's something that most artists do. And I know it's something that I did. Most of my training came from looking at all my heroes and looking at the books and learning and copying. And that's what I would recommend that you do, is just look at the art that interests you. Again, it may be very simple art right now because that's where you're at, and just look at that and just start copying that. Allow yourself to copy. People have a stigma about tracing and copying, and it's a bad one, because unless you do that, you're making everything so much harder for yourself. People have already figured this out. So why not just learn from their mistakes and learn from what they've done by tracing? Okay, but now that I've traced it and I've learned, and now let me try redrawing it. What did I just learn? You don't just trace and go, okay, I traced. It's like, I traced it. What did I learn? Observe it and then work through that. That's what you want to be doing.
I remember one thing that when he says about his age, that he's 42 and all, I remember that there is this guy that was a designer until 40. He was a designer until 40, and then he became an actor. His name was Alan Rickman. He is Professor Snape. He was a designer until he was 40. So, dude, you can start now.
Yeah.
It's you just need a lot of practice, but it's okay.
Yeah.
There's another question. Joanna, do you think I should do another accent, or should I just stop it?
Actually, Leo on the comments just suggested that you do an Aussie accent.
There we go.
Aussie, how is it? I don't know.
Aussie accent is like, I think it's like a midway between British accent and American accent. At least it's.
I'm not that good. I'm not that good. I'm not that good. Let's see.
Irish accent. Be Irish.
Irish accent. I got to do a little Scottish. Okay. Scottish accent is Alice's thing. Okay. Good night, everyone. A question for Stephen. Is drawing and painting also a hobby of you, or do you separate your work from your personal life?
No, I separate it now in my personal life, but for me, drawing was always a part of my life and a hobby. So I was always drawing all the time. It was just what I wanted to do all the time. There was not, and even even today, I mean, I'm still just doodle for myself. I don't have any other particular hobbies other than I just like being outdoors. I like walking. I like going on hikes. I like that. But drawing is always, what's almost what I love doing more than anything now is just teaching. I love teaching more than life itself. I love just going over other people's designs. I love seeing, because I can recognize weaknesses in people's artwork. I've been teaching and drawing for so long that I can look at someone's design and tell them what's wrong with it. And I can tell them how to improve upon it. And that's a gift that I have. And I realized that. And that's what made me an effective teacher, is to be able to go over people's artwork and point out issues and help them move to that next phase. So that's where what I do really just more than anything now. I love it more than designing for anyone. If I get asked to design for people, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. Yeah.
You turn into a zombie.
Yeah, turn into a zombie. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And you teach online. So for anyone, anywhere in the world, if you feel like you should, because I was a student, and it was amazing. It was probably the most meaningful teaching experience I've ever had, and I don't mean just art wise, but it was awesome, and I feel like I am very, very fortunate And
Thank you.
yeah, I was part of the class as well,
right.
of course.
Yeah, the library. Yeah. That's true. And no, and it's I also just I intermix a lot of philosophy and mindset with art. It's not just art. It's not just about holding the pencil and doing that. But yeah, so now I started my own school during the pandemic. That was almost like a silver lining, the Silver Drawing Academy, but now it's online. So where I had a physical school, but now it's all online. Where I got like over 400 video lessons. So I meet up with people 6 times a month. We do Zoom sessions, getting together. So it's very interactive. But I think that just teaching the mindset about this and things that we're talking about today is so vital. It's such a big part of it, and business side of art, the things that aren't taught in a traditional school and other things. It's just it's vital, because I almost feel like the mindset is 80% of it and the drawing itself is 20% of it. Really, it's just like, you gotta have the right mindset. So for concentration, when I'm working on this, what am I really analyzing? What am I thinking about? How can I make this better? And so there's a lot of internal thinking that goes on in the head.
Right. Oh, there's another one.
May I read this one?
Yeah,
of course.
I want to read it as a Scottish.
Yeah. We have Scottish.
Since we're doing voices.
Right? Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
another one. Me baby girl, me wee baby girl is also drawing. How can I help her overcome her insecurities and keep up pursuing her path in a fucking world where social cunt media brings kids down so fast? I'm sorry, Scottish people.
You just here it comes into the books again, or just to have a book where there's so many like great tutorial books, right? There's a great book for very early beginners in drawing is a book by Preston Blair called cartoon animation. And it teaches you very simple, but you can find how-to books. Again, I don't know how old the child is, but finding books like that and work step by step, start with the circle, then draw this eye line, then, a step-by-step process. And that's what it just kind of requires these days. And for you to be with them and show them, there's also a lot of things you can find online, YouTube, any place else. But I think actually being there is going to help them and just show them. So if you sit next to them and work with them, make sure don't leave them to themselves just to find their own material. I think is a very important thing. I did want to say, guys, I do have to leave at 6 because I've been told that I need to have dinner with my cousin tonight. So
sure,
yeah,
we can say our goodbyes.
Yeah,
we can say
we're on the final moments. I actually was going to ask you about any final thing that you want to say, because we're now in a globalized planet. We are learning so many different things. I think at least for myself, the pandemic was harsh. It is being harsh because it's not over yet, but it's also a very good breeding ground for self-knowledge. It's a very interesting moment. Not gonna say good or bad. It's gonna say interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What would you say for us, for artists like new and old, like a guy that is like way ahead of you and a guy that is way before of you? What would you say to these people about your life experience right now?
I love it. I love that question, and I like to end any session that I do with what I'm going to do right now. I wrote a poem, and this.
Cool.
Actually,
awesome.
I actually wrote a book called Breaking Through Barriers, like Words of Wisdom, Living Through Your Potential. And this is a poem that I like to read at the end of all of my any talk, because this sort of like sums it up. And with that final message, what's the message you want to give to artists? And this is it. And I wrote, all I have ever done is enjoyed what I ever do. My mind was open, my mind was clear. I did not stop to think of fear. I open up my mind, think of an idea, put it into action, and see what will appear. It can never be a failure because I learned along the way. If I did not succeed, I'll try another day. Stay calm and smile. Enjoy the things you do. Life will get much better as long as you are you.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's
Preach.
awesome.
That's awesome. Bravo. Bravo.
Those are the words. Just be you. Just be yourself. Just stop trying to compete, fight, crawl, scratch. Just do what you do. You have a purpose. You just need to just allow yourself to find it and discover it and just be yourself.
Right on, man. Right
Thank
on.
you so much for spending couple hours with us, and I was missing you. I still do. I hope we can meet again
soon. It's just like I want to go back to Brazil for sure. So I hope that opens up, and next year maybe sounds like. But hopefully things are starting to open up. Here, they're talking about some conventions opening up here. So I know Lightbox is going to be online again. They're not going to be doing it live, but maybe 2022, maybe they'll do it.
Right.
Yeah, Brazil's going to take a while, just to get ready for that. But
just a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah.
But eventually we will be so glad to have you here, and we really appreciate your time and your great words, great advice for everyone here.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Thanks for inviting me. I think, this was awesome. A lot of fun chat, and hopefully a lot of good advice for everyone out there.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
for
Steven.
You bet.
This guy is a great guy. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Like, you feel free to come back anytime. All right, you're at home here, right?
Thank you.
People are stuck here like they're motivated. So everyone's motivated.
I'm gonna turn a little Portuguese right now just to let people know where you're going. Então, galera, obrigado por ter vindo aqui. A Joana e eu não vamos fazer aquela dança dos links, porque vocês sabem, do jabás, porque o Stephen tem que ir embora.
Já tá na hora.
Então a gente queria agradecer todo mundo. Fiquem aí pros créditos, porque eles são bem idiota. E thank you, Stephen. I'm gonna roll the credits now.
Okay.
Just
the
stay a
crazy
little longer.
credit countdown.
I love the beginning. The animation was awesome. The guy.
Okay, guys, see you later, and thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Ciao.